Welcome back for another book review. Today we are talking about this one. So this is one of those books that I was not sure about. So if you've been on my channel for a while, you know how I feel about for women only, and that I really try more to be more inclusive, and so this book actually surprised me. We're getting ahead of ourselves though. So this is Chakra Empowerment for Women, Self-Guided Techniques for Healing Trauma, Owning Your Power, and Finding Overall Wellness by Lisa Erickson. So this book is divided up into 12 major things to focus on. It starts off with the chakras, and then it goes over a couple different things, which are, ironically, they feel very flowy together. So you got your 7 chakras, then you've got second skin, web of light, healing rays, feminine pathway, and rainbow abundance. And then, of course, she loves me. She has a conclusion. She has everything. The references, the bibliography stuff. Oh yeah, she's got it all. So each of these, especially the chakras, it goes over what the chakra is, and it talks about your experience with it. And again, it's one of those where you're like, is it just female only? Kind of. And I do want to add this here in the brief description rather than just in the review part and the rating and stuff. But basically, female doesn't necessarily mean just cis females. You can also probably have this apply to a lot of trans women, I would think. Obviously, I'm not trans, I don't know, but I would assume a lot of trans women would experience this as well. And I don't know about non-binary, I don't know about men, how much of this is going to apply. I think some of it easily could, but it is all of it really heavily based into the female experience. And it kind of depends on where you fall into that. Is it just gender? Is it there's I remember this from Manifestation Babe, and I have feelings both ways about it. Sometimes I love her, sometimes she's really great, and then other times I'm like, you just spent what it's gonna cost me to have a child on a handbag. Literally, what the F? But I have mixed feelings, and also just the very rich spiritual MLM thing of the pyramid schemes, but sometimes she has some stuff that hits and you're like, it's like a clock, a dead clock is right twice a day. Sometimes she's got some good stuff. And the concept of the inner core of is your inner core feminine or is your inner core masculine, and how I don't know, I feel like it still kind of draws back to also yin yang, and how sometimes you're mostly the yin and a little bit of yang comes out, and it just depends on situations, but on a whole you're usually the one versus the other. And I think that kind of applies into this book if you're mostly a feminine core, because a lot of times I've noticed that in my interactings with the queer community, there are some that typically, even if you present masculine and it's a man, your inner core kind of could be more feminine, and you're just more into the feminine things, of more intuitive and more sensitive to other people and more nurturing and whatever. And then of course the inner brain kicks in and you're like, no, because stereotypes and patriarchy and all of that jazz. So I want to add that in here of it gets not bad, but it is very heavily focused on the female experience. Dudes, you might get along with this. You probably would get some stuff from it. But just keep in mind, it's really focused on that inner core feminine experience. And to be perfectly honest, there are certain things that just exist because you're a woman and you present as a woman. Because again, I feel like a lot of this would apply to trans women as well. But all of that to say, it's very heavily women-centric. And I don't think it's a bad thing. So each of these, as it goes through the chapters, it's really focusing again on the woman experience, the female experience, and how it presents in your body with the chakra and your experiences. It really walks you through that. And here, we'll go through the first one together. So you have 1, your root chakra. So she has the root bowl, because that's the image that you're supposed to use in your meditation. And it's your foundation. So it talks about when have you felt this before, and it kind of draws back to experiences relating to the chakra. She walks you through all of this, by the way. Then activation steps. Then you have when you are blocked, using the root bowl, which I think that was the actual exercise to do, because she does have a meditation in each one. You can find it on her website as well. It's not the greatest, I'm gonna be real, but that's a little bit of it's just kind of reading it out loud, and it's hit pause to do the thing, and you're like, I don't Why am I having to hit pause? No. So, and also, I am not an ASMR girly. So, if you hear that noise, oh my god. It's just nails on a chalkboard for me, and she has that a few times, and like breathing, and just, oh. So, just as an FYI, you might still have to record it yourself. But she does have it if that doesn't bother you and you're chill to just hit pause while you're doing the things. But they do exist for free, which is nice. Or you can just record it and just memorize it yourself. That works too. But she has you do a meditation. They also include affirmations in them. And then you have women's energetics, body connection. And then it always ends each section with sexual trauma healing. And that is one of those sections that it's like, obviously, if you've had assaults or something happen, like, yeah, that's really gonna hit home for you. But also, it's good to read through because sometimes she does pull it back outside of just like really severe trauma situations, and like catcalling and how women are told to view their bodies. And even like within the past 24 hours, I had a thing that talked about it on Instagram that I was like, as an ace person, no. Because it talks about like how that particular post was about like your virginity and how it's like held on, I described it as being held on such a stupid pedestal that it's like, again, being ace, it's like, okay, whatever. But this book would put it in a very different perspective, but very similar. And so it talks about the female experience and how we're often sexualized, and how, you know, it's really hard for us to feel safe, because I've noticed that in my own life, like with hubby, there's so many things that he does, it doesn't even occur to him, where it's like, you know, he was watching some TikTok talking about like how to, like, if you were homeless, how to survive like in your car. And the tips were from a guy, and I'm like, that is 1000% not what women are taught and what we have to do. Of like, you need to pick the most secluded, dark corner of the parking lot to not be bothered. And it's like, absolutely not. You're going right up to the front door. Like, you are picking the most illuminated, high traffic area possible, and not sketch, middle of nowhere, far away from people, dark spaces. And that was just one of those examples where it's like, yeah, you know, as much as we're trying to get away from gender stereotypes and stuff, they still do exist. It's still part of our society. And this book really holds your hand and walks you through that in a very, it calmed my anxieties about, it's just for women, but it's like, it sometimes is. Anyways, and it wasn't like super like whim worshipping, which was amazing. And so yeah, it goes over a lot in this book. I gave this one obviously a 5 out of 5. I was so surprised. I went into this fully expecting to hate this book. I was ready to be like, I had the spear ready to be like, this is gonna suck. And then it didn't. It was actually one of the best books I've read. The exercises, I think, are something that I'm going to be implementing. Again, I'm probably going to have to record it myself, but like I record every day anyway, so it's not the end of the world. But just because, again, I can't do it. Just, oh my god. But, and also like to not have to sit and pause, like literally hit pause on my phone. Just don't need to do that in my meditations. Because every other meditation technique says not to do that. It kind of breaks you out of it. And I would fully agree that it totally snaps you back into reality to do that, so I don't want to have to. But, I mean, the exercises are so good, so powerful. This book is amazing. And again, I think it would really apply if you are trans women or just cis women. Either way, I think it would really apply. And this isn't to say men couldn't get something from this. I think you easily could, but it is definitely geared towards the female experience. And really, on that note, this author constantly was calming my like, but what about guys? What about the non-binary? And just like calming my little, like, before I could even finish the thought of like wanting to like fight back on it, she calmed my nerves. She calmed my thoughts. And I don't know how she managed to do that with a book that, at least my library got this in 2019, but she managed just to handle this topic so well. And as someone who's trying to get more in touch with my feminine side, because I do live in the masculine significantly. Like, I do love that more. I like the get to action, get to do the thing, do the planning, do the work vibes, instead of sit back, chill, wait to receive. And it's like, no, this is stupid. But also, when I do that, things go better. And there's just certain times where you catch your intuition and you're like, okay. And again, thinking of a yin yang symbol, where the masculine side, it's like, it's overpowering and it's not supposed to. And you're like, okay, maybe put that into a box just a little bit. And this is just, I feel like this is just a great journey if you want to get in touch with your feminine side. And it's one of those that I think, again, even men or non-binary folk could utilize this to get in touch with your feminine side. And a lot of it, I think, could still also apply just in general. But again, it's still really heavily focused on the female experience, but not in a bad way. I really actually liked this. I'm gonna buy this book eventually because it is so good. So I would recommend this, as I have said so many times in this video, that if you are wanting to work on your feminine, if you are a woman, and again, I totally think this would apply to trans women, but just in general, if you're wanting to work with the feminine energies and working with them within yourself, especially in the context of visualizations and with the chakra system as kind of the base starting point, this is the book. And again, the female experience is not womb uterus focused, because again, a lot of these books, they kind of veer way further, and they're like, ah, but look how great it is. You have boobs. They will feed your child, and your uterus is going to birth a human. And not all women are going to do that, whether you're trans or you have fertility issues or just simply don't want to. It doesn't really focus so much on these organs and your ability to create life and stuff. And I loved this book. So anyways, I would love to know your thoughts on this one in the comments down below. And if you have a male equivalent one, I would love to know, because again, I like to always be able to offer like the different options. I don't know what there would be for dudes, because it's the healthy masculine is just barely starting to gain some traction right now, where healthy feminine experiences have been happening for a few decades now, and we're getting pretty good on that. And as a general society, but the masculine is still a hot mess express. So if you have some of books like this that would help, I would love to know, or again, a non-binary experience, in the comments down below. A huge thank you to my patrons. If you would like to support me and get access to exclusive content, such as other book talks, for my audiobooks, and for my vlogs, and just kind of behind the scenes stuff, random chit chats, talked about a reading that I had recently that obviously this came up because I was supposed to be working on the feminine, and then I was reading this book and I'm like, oh my god, this is the book to help me do that. So if you want to check that out, it's patreon.com/nightwillowcrafts. Of course, you are doing so much just by staying here and watching to the very end. That is helping substantially. If you want to buy my books, you can. Hopefully you get something from them. And until next time, blessed be.